All right, welcome everyone. And if you've just come on, please put in the chat where you're located so we can see where everyone is geographically. That's always fun. And I am Roseanne Hanson, and today I am taking you on a virtual field trip to Alaska's Arctic regions. And it's going to be a lot of fun. My husband and I were there just a few weeks ago at the end of August and into September. And I did a lot of journaling every day, almost 30 pages, I think. And it was amazing. I learned so much. And so I hope to share with you today all that I've learned. Well, not all that I've learned, but a lot of what I've learned. And just what a beautiful, amazing place we have in this treasure that is Alaska. It was amazing. I'm going to say amazing a lot. So I will give a short little slideshow, just kind of to give you some information and data about where we're going and show you a big overview map. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat, or I might just say verbally, hey, do we have any questions? And I'll have you say it verbally, because again, it's going to be hard for me to toggle around. And so this is casual. It's not a formal class, so we'll have a lot of fun. All right, so I am going to get right started with my slideshow and screen share that. All right, could someone just verbally tell me if you are seeing the beginning of the slideshow? Virtual. Perfect, thank you. Great. All right. Well, welcome. As I said earlier, I'm Roseanne Hanson. I am the Art and Science Program Coordinator for the University of Arizona's Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill. And I run my own Field Arts Institute where I teach nature journaling. I have a book, Nature Journaling for a Wildlife, and many field arts. Everything from wildlife tracking to I did really have gotten into weather and observing and recording the weather, and many other wonderful things you can do when you're out in nature. I call them field arts. And I've been doing this for 40 years and have been keeping field journals for that length of time. So I love to share my passion for exploring nature and science. So where are we going? So this is, as you've guessed, our beautiful state of Alaska, most of it, though it's not showing the southern coasts. What we're going to be doing is what my husband Jonathan and I did. We're going to follow much of our route for our explorations. What were we doing there? We were there researching a book my husband is working on. It's actually a fiction. Work of fiction. And so it was really fun. I was just along for the ride and was able to, like I said, journal every day, just about all day. It was really, really fun. So we are going to, as you can see here, we flew into Fairbanks because of COVID. Driving was not an option for us when we went at the time. And we didn't want to get stuck if the borders got closed again. Delta variant was still kind of iffy. So we really couldn't drive this time. So we flew into Fairbanks. And then the first thing we did, though, is hopped on another plane and we flew up to Uqtiagvik. Now, I just got a notification that my own internet is unstable. So let me know verbally if I'm starting to get wobbly for you guys, okay? Sorry about that. That's Cox internet, I guess, today. And so Uqtiagvik is at the far northern tip, Point Barrow. The town was called Barrow until not too long ago. They renamed it the Inupiat name Uqtiagvik. And we explored around there, the Arctic coastal tundra areas. And then we returned to Fairbanks and rented a four-wheel drive vehicle. And we drove what's called the North Slope Haul Road, or Prudhoe Bay Haul Road, the Dalton Highway, which is just under, I think, 400 miles to Prudhoe Bay. And we camped along the way and explored, did photography and videos, which you're going to see today. All right, now just something about where we're going and who has been there, the people that live there. There are some 231 recognized indigenous people in Alaska, and roughly in two main grouped in six main regions by region. So those are the Aleuts in the far west, the Inupiat in the far north. We used to call them Eskimo. Inupiat is the correct name of their people, and the Ute, who are also related to Inupiat, a little farther south. Athabascans, who are related to the Dene and the Apaches in the American South, lower 48 Southwest. The coastal Tlingit and Haida. So we went August 27th and September 10th, and that's called shoulder season. So we actually found it to be perfect because the temperatures were awesome. Oops, I just got a notification that showed up on my screen. Someone is requesting live transcription. I'm sorry that appears to be an option, but it is not an option. That is a paid service that is not available. Zoom doesn't allow me to disable that. So if we could leave that off, please. Thank you. So it is the shoulder season. So temperatures were great, 30s to 40s for the lows, 50s to even 65 for the highs Fahrenheit. And it did snow a little, but the good thing was it had already frozen. It's also way past mosquito season. And then because it was rainy and snowy, I don't know, I think it added to the drama and beauty, but there was also no dust on the haul road, which was fantastic. All right. At Point Barrow, Uqtiagvik, when you look north, there's only 2.6% of the Earth's surface farther north, which you're really far up there. And then if you turn west and look due west, you're looking over the top of Russia. You're just hitting the northernmost tip of Russia. So it's super far north. And then in terms of the habitat I was most interested in, and there's quite a few habitats, but the dominant is tundra where we were. And there are three types: the alpine tundra, which was in the mountains above tree line. And we saw a little bit of that as we went over the Brooks Range. And then Arctic tundra, which was mainly what we were seeing. And that's the picture here is part of that. And that's above the latitudinal tree line. So from basically north of the Brooks Range to the ocean. And then there's maritime tundra, and that's on the west coasts where the big mountains come down to the sea and you get coastal tundra. And tundra is endangered right now by global warming and human activity. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of change going on. Seasons are getting longer. Tundra is melting. It's changing the biomes. So plants are changing, which are surviving and which are not due to this change. So we will see some of that in Uqtiagvik as well. The sea level rise is impacting that community greatly. So the other habitat type that we saw quite a bit of is the boreal forest, which is also called taiga, dominated by spruces, poplars, and willows. And then under it is this dense understory and it's really deep and spongy. You're going to see a video of walking through that with lichens and mosses, and we were there during peak berry season. It was really fun, beautiful, just beautiful. There are about 360,000 miles of wild rivers in Alaska. And these are the big ones are braided river systems that are enormous, sometimes miles wide of braided channels. And that's really important. The seasonal flooding is very important for the ecosystems. There's a lot of silt, glacial silt in these rivers as well. And there are 3,197 officially named natural lakes, and then about 3 million unnamed lakes in Alaska. And you can really see that from the air. For wildlife, it's pretty spectacular. 430 species of birds. It's the largest population of bald eagles in North America, of 70,000 bald eagles estimated in Alaska out of a total 380,000 in North America. Pretty significant. There are 70 species of mammals, and it's the highest concentration of grizzly bears, brown bears. They're called up there, and grizzly down in the lower 48. One of the few animals we didn't get to see. And, you know, they span everything from tiny little itty bitty pygmy shrews all the way up to gray whales, of course, the largest, 45 tons. And then Mount McKinley. It's the highest peak in North America. And it has some real cool superlatives. This photo I took out of the window of the airplane as we flew over. It's 20,310 feet, but it has a topographic prominence, meaning it is massive, of 20,194 feet and in isolation of 4,600 some odd miles, meaning it's way in the center of the mass of the continent. And so it's the third most prominent and third most isolated peak on Earth, only after Mount Everest and Aconcagua. And you really get a feel for that when you are flying over it like this. And I can only imagine what it would be like climbing it. And of course, it used to be called Mount McKinley, but properly Denali, the high one in Koyukon. And then I mentioned we drove the Hall Road, the Dalton Highway, but it's mostly dirt. It's 414 miles long, and it was built in just 5 months in 1974 to supply the Prudhoe Bay oil production that had just been getting going. It was a massive engineering undertaking, and we heard tons of stories from locals too about kind of all the stuff that went on during the frenzy, 24-hour building, basically just lots of bad stuff going on to get this done. Interestingly, it used to be like really, really challenging and difficult, but 129 miles of it are actually paved. And we found the surfaces of the road really pretty easy. The only thing that was difficult was when we came, it snowed over the high pass, and the rental truck didn't have great tires. So if someone can please mute, I'm getting interference from someone. So make sure you're muted, everybody, please.
Good morning.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's see. Hey, Julie, if you are able to find who that is, since you're co-host, can you mute them, please?
I'll track them down.
Yeah, thank you, because I think it's just going to interfere. I'm going to wait just a second. Sorry about that, folks.
There it is.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, this is why I usually have my assistant helping, but she was not available today. So along this huge stretch of road, there are only 3 towns. They're not really towns. So check out the populations. Coldfoot, which is an old, it was a camp built for the Hall Road. It has a population of 10. And it's the only little store and cafe on the entire road. And there's no internet anywhere. And there's like a tiny bit of phone reception at Coldfoot. That's it. And then just up the road from there is this old mining town called Wiseman, which is still, it's got 22 people full time. And most of them are subsistence living trappers. They grow their own food, hunt, really cool place. And then of course, Dead Horse at the end of the road. And No one knows exactly why it's called Dead Horse. They think it was named after one of the companies that helped to build the road, because it was called Dead Horse Camp after the company. And yeah, so there's a lot of speculation, but there are only about 25, 30 people who are there full time as residents. And then there's a huge seasonal oil and hospitality industry workers, because there's 5 or 6 big hotels that cater to all these men and women who work seasonally in the oil industry. It's extremely ordered and well organized. A far cry from what it used to be. It used to be like the Wild West with prostitution and drugs and alcohol, and now it's totally dry, no alcohol, and strictly controlled. It was a really interesting place. All right, well, let's go to Alaska. So I am going to find you guys again. There we go. Okay, any questions? Okay, so if anyone who's writing in the chat while I'm doing a presentation, I can't see it. So if I am, if you're having trouble hearing me or something's wrong, please say so verbally, because I can't see the chat when I'm doing a presentation. So does everything sound better? Is it showing better now? Is the connection okay?
Yeah, it was just a little bit wobbly, but we can still follow you earlier. So
okay, good. Sorry about that. Again, it's been a Cox is apparently working on the lines today. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to introduce you to my virtual field trip, which I built from 360-degree photos I took on the trip. There's 5 of them, and they're set up in this virtual online way. And I'm going to share with you the link to the slideshow. So the field trip. So those of you who are able to, if you want to, you can play with the slideshow. Why do I keep calling it a slideshow? The virtual field trip while I'm doing it as well. It may cut your bandwidth down though. So I'm going to be sharing this, but you can also save this link. Will be available. I'll have it on the website when we're done here. So don't worry about if you forget to save it, but so you can play with it and go on an explorations, because there's dozens of images and video. I won't be able to do them all today. So let me show them to you. And I'm going to, all right, now I'm going to go find it. There we are. Are you guys seeing, oops, nope. Are you seeing the virtual field trip now? Should show
yes,
the beach. Okay, great. This is the beach at Uqtiagvik. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this virtual field trip works as a website. So as you can see on the upper left, there's a map. I was having a little trouble with my Google map. It wasn't recognizing it. So it's getting this weird for development purposes only, but this is the orientation. So each of my 5 field trip stops, those are the little rectangles you can see at the bottom there, show up as a little marker here on the map. So you are able to see exactly where these are in space there in Alaska. And as I move, so you click on the photo and you can move it around. And then if you look at the red cone on the little map, it shows you which way you're looking. So here we're looking pretty much due north. And if I turn this way, we're looking west, straight basically across the top of Russia. Look how far north we are. That's the top of Russia. So I love that you can really get a sense of where we're at. Now within all of this 360-degree image, so I'm standing on the beach at Point Barrow, and you can explore around. You can actually zoom in, look at the rocks here. And And then I have things for you to click on and read. I'm going to be demonstrating this and then sketching as we go. So I'll be changing my view in a few minutes. But let me just show you, for example, the first thing, this gives you, this README tells you how to use it. So when you come back on your own, be sure to access the README. And then if you click on here, it'll open a photo, or I'm going to show you a video in a moment. And we'll just get a nice feel for the place and what's there, and we can sketch things. For example, let's see what it feels like standing on this coast so far north. And it was windy, and it was about probably about 39 degrees because later in the day it snowed. Oh yeah, my internet's not great. It's buffering here. You'll be able to come back and view these on your own as well. But this is just not wanting to load well. But this gives you a feeling for what it's like there. It was a very calm, beautiful day, though, a calm ocean, but it's almost always wind there. So I'm going to close that. Let me show you just really quick the webcam. There's a live webcam at Uqtiagvik, and there you can see how it's spelled, Utqiag with the dots, VIC, Uqtiagvik. And here, let's look at the this is what it looks like right now. This was the last 24 hours. This is on a building in the main town. It's actually really busy here. A few hundred people live here, and lots of oil and oil workers, but a large population of Inupiat. So you can see what that looks like. Let's see, escape there, and back to our slideshow. I keep calling it a slideshow, virtual field trip. So exploring around here, you can see, here's what we were talking about, climate change. This is right at the town. They've put a berm up of sandbags because the sea level and storms are starting to take away parts of the beach and threaten the town. And the Army Corps of Engineers was actually there when we were there, and they're going to be working on building, I think, a seawall to try to save the town. If they don't, they're going to have to move the town because they are losing ground and threatened to be flooded. So that's pretty alarming. Here's some fun at town, right behind we stayed at a hotel there because we didn't have a truck for camping. There's this whalebone arch. And I'll show you in a minute the full skull of a bowhead whale, the bowheads are really important to the Inupiat people. They still hunt them. They're very important for food source and culturally. So this is the jaws of the bowhead. Yeah. So let me show you a skull as well. Walking on the beach right up here, and you can see how you kind of navigate around. You look for things that have an eye, means it's going to have text and information. So this will tell you about the bowhead whale, Balena mysticetus. It's a baleen whale and the Balenidae, and is the only living representative of the genus Balena. And they are endemic to the Arctic and subarctic waters, and very important to the indigenous people, the Inupiat. They are, as I said, everything with the animal is used, the oil, the blubber, the meat, and they share it widely with the community when a whale is successfully hunted. And so here's a skull that was on the beach. That's beautiful. And so that's something I might want to sketch if I had plenty of time. So maybe what we'll do, since we're we're going to be here on the coast for a few minutes before we head inland. I'm going to take you inland to see the tundra inland in a few minutes. But I'm gonna do a share here with my camera. Let's see if we can get this. There it is. All right. All right, and you should be able to see shortly, if I get this set up right, my notebook, yes?
Yes, we have notebook and skull in the same frame.
Nice, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Also here, I have a little, I collect, I'm like a raven, I think. I collect things as I go, and these are stones from the beach there. So you can see the beautiful colors, the black and the white, and then these are polished glass and, you know, just I think from trash, right? And then you can see that how dark the beach sand is. Oops. And all those little colors, and they're sparkly, is beautiful. So I love to gather back things like that. And I actually love sketching stones too. So that might be something I would sketch as well. Before I jump into that, I'll remind everyone, I'm the metadata queen, right? I get teased about that. I've already done this. Normally, as I would approach this beach, I would sit, this is what I did when I was there, and get my metadata down. So today is Saturday, October 16th. We're in Alaska virtually, but I went ahead and wrote the metadata for the place that we're at. This is the longitude and latitude. So look at how far north we are. Latitude 71, 29.8016 degrees. Wow. So it's cloudy today. It wasn't when the photos were taken, but, and it said there was a 14-mile-an-hour breeze from the west, and it's altocumulus clouds. Excuse me, no, cirrocumulus. It's snowing right now, and it's 17 degrees was the low, and the high is expected to be 23, and we're at sea level. And so these are my little symbols for that. And I just started, writing a little narrative. We've landed in Uqtiagvik, where it's cold, windy, and expected to snow. So then I might do this little sketch, and maybe we can all sketch along. And how do I decide what to sketch? Well, this was pretty cool, right? A whale skull. And I'm going to do just a quick sketch, and maybe on this, these are all my blank pages, like, where do I start? For something like that, I'd probably put it down here in the corner here. And if I'm feeling a little unsure about whether I'm going to get the proportions right, I might do dots with my ink before I fully ink it in. And then the other thing I've started, I got this idea from Jack Laws. He did blue pencils for a while. I don't like the blue pencils personally. I just don't like the color. They're hard and difficult to work with. I feel like they aren't as expressive. And then lately he started using a purple lead, a purple pencil. And if you take a look here, it's a really nice light purple. And then when you ink over it, it really doesn't show as much as the blue, in my opinion. So I really like that. So I might do a quick, just get my proportions right first with if I'm feeling wobbly, which usually my first drawing, I always am, because I haven't gotten into the swing of it. So, maybe I'll just get my grounding here first to get the proportions. Make sure I like it before I commit. And this is a complicated one, so I'm actually going to be doing a pretty quick version of this, because I could spend hours sitting on the beach and sketching this.
Roseanne, there's a question in the chat. Where do you get your purple lead pencils?
Yeah, so I use the mechanical pencils. So I just went on Amazon and Googled colored lead or purple lead that was the right size for this pencil, which was, I think, 0.7 millimeters. So your pencils are going to have different sizes, or you can just buy a purple pencil, which is what Jack does.
And another question is, can you tell us how big the skull is?
Yes, good question. So what we would do is actually measure it. This is really large. I want to say it's about 3, 6, probably about 12 feet long. So we will put that in our sketch here. I'm liking this proportion, so I'll probably ink soon. We're covering a lot of ground today, so I'll be having to do everything really quickly. So, normally we spend as much time as we want here at this site, but see how that purple's working? I know it's not showing super strong there, but it lets me get some basics down before I commit. And then if I have to go over it and over it again, it doesn't show as much. I really like it. On things that I'm really confident with, like plants, things like that, I go straight to ink. But something like this, the proportion is important. So, and I've been using this purple for doing live animal sketches, which always are difficult, really difficult. And it gives me more confidence to start there. I can show you examples where I used it here. Like doing this muskox, this was live. We only saw the muskox for probably less than 3 minutes. What did I write? Yeah, I timed it by the photos. He was walking in the distance and then he disappeared. So this is in the purple, really quick. Just, you can see where I just did shapes. And then later, using the photographs that my husband took, I was able to do a little landscape video with the muskox because he was pretty far away. So I really like that. I lost my page. Really like that purple, but I'll ground it by going ahead and starting some ink here. Doing this at a weird angle. And just getting the main points so that I can write more about the size and just field notes on it. And I'll take a picture like I did. And then later, in camp, I would do the details. That's how I often do field sketching. Sometimes I have time to finish the whole thing, if I have an hour or two at a spot. If not, that's okay. Having trouble talking and drawing at the same time. That's okay because you can take photos and fill in later. But the most important thing is just observing.
There's another question. What is the yellow on the sand?
Yes, that's, I need to do more research on that, but it's a plant and it appears to be, obviously it's a salt tolerant plant. And so I wasn't able to find, there's not a lot of books on the flora up here on the coast. So that is something I would definitely put in my notes and research later. Yeah, good observation there.
How far are you from the water? I'm assuming your back is to the water.
Correct. My back is to the water here, probably about 20 feet. So this gets really highly weathered here, and will be gone in a few seasons just from the weathering. So what I want to do then is give this a horizon. So and then the best thing to do to show the scale here is to make sure I'm using dots here to show the shadow, because that'll place it on the page to help show the scope of what this is. So, you know, that's going to be in shadow, and might want to come in with watercolor and give these the shadow, because that'll really help. I'm just using dots now to remind me. And then what we would do is put our scale. So it's about, what did I say, about 12 feet? I'm gonna estimate 12 to 14 feet, because I just had to pace it off. And so pull here. I can leave this for the moment, and I can come back later and do all this detail, but that gives me a good start. And then I would put my notes in here. So this is a bowhead whale. And what is the species name? I'm going to go look that up real quick. Let's get that in here. Balena. Oops, Balena. Mysticetus. Okay.
There's another question in the chat. It's the black mark that you made that on the skull. And they're wondering if that is the eye area.
That is a good question. It's called the bowhead because this is literally bowed like that. I don't believe that is the eye, no, but I would have to look at the anatomy of a bowhead whale, but no, I don't think so. No. That might even just be weathering from its sitting here. So let's keep going, because you know we've got a lot to cover and a lot of fun stuff to learn. So this is a great start. And maybe one other thing I do. So when I'm going to show you a bit more of my page here. For those of you who are new, and if so, we don't want. I think this is Julie who's being so kind and talking, and you know we want her to enjoy too. So if you have questions, just ask them verbally. Don't use the chat, and that'll help. So what do I do? Like, okay, now I know we're driving. We're going to hop in our little rental truck and drive inland to explore the Arctic tundra. And I know I'm going somewhere else. I might take more notes here, so I'm going to leave that. But one thing I have started doing is going ahead and maybe reserving a space to do some feature coming up, and to keep me from just kind of getting overzealous and not like suddenly using up the whole page with something. I'll do a shape. And I just discovered this. This is super cool. Check this out. A lot of you may use this already, but you can use it to draw perfect circles. I used to do circles freehand, which always came out super wobbly, and but this is flat and goes in my field bag really easily, so it's not a lot. So I might choose to do a medium-sized circle here. Let's see. You put and I have to use a ballpoint pen, not my not my fountain pen. Fountain pens just make a mess in here. But let's see. I might try it first with this to see if I like the size. But you hold it like so. Yeah, I like that size. So I'm going to use a ballpoint pen here. Ta-da! That is fun, right? So a wonderful little tool. You can also use it to make triangles with angles. It has instructions for that. You can use it for measuring angles of things that you see by using the degrees here. So if I wanted to measure a slope, I could do that using this tool too. So
where can we get that tool?
I'll put that on the website. I just got it off Amazon. It's called a Helix protractor. So really fun. Okay, so I'm gonna go back though. We're gonna go back and I'll show you how we're gonna navigate around here. I'm gonna make myself smaller for a minute. Okay, so when you're on this virtual field trip, as you're looking around, you'll see these little compass points. That means it's the next stop or the next area we're going. And this corresponds, down to these here. This is the exact direction that is going, so that helps. So I'm going to click on there. We drove inland for about 20 miles. And actually, I'm going to show you a screenshot to show you exactly where this is. So the whale, we were up here. Then we drove on a dirt road out here. It's a raised road over the tundra out into this lakes area. And so the Arctic tundra here, and this is Point Barrow, which is rapidly being subsumed by the sea because of climate change and rising sea levels. This is what the landscape looks like. This is classic Arctic tundra. And we're going to talk a little bit about what tundra is. But you can see it was starting to soak in, and it started snowing while we were here actually. And you can, here's our next stop. We'll be going that way to the Hall Road. But for now, while we were here out exploring, let me show you a little bit about what tundra is, and then we'll look at some other things. So what is tundra exactly? So you can read this more fully to fill out your field journals. But this will give you a good grounding. So it's distributed above, as I said, the latitudinal tree line. And the dominant vegetation is this tussock tundra. And actually, let me show you here. I was standing on a tussock, which is kind of a raised grassy area here. But in between, there's a tussock there, are these lower wet, this is wet, grassy areas. In the summer, of course, this thaws. And then in the winter, it's, of course, solid ice. And under this, anything from a few feet to 30, 40, 50 feet or more is permafrost. So the permanently frozen layer. That's what's starting to be more unstable due to the global warming. So here you can see that what that looks like. Let me show you the aerial view. Okay, so when we flew out, we actually flew over the exact spot that we were exploring down here. So those are all polygons of moisture with the tussocks in between that's an ice feature, a feature of the ice, because those freeze and unfreeze and freeze and unfreeze. And you can see how many little lakes and lakelets and ponds there are. So walking in here is really difficult, and you got to be careful not to get up to your knees in water. So while we were here, there were some interesting things happening. Let me show you this one really cool observation we had. While we were there, we watched, I was very excited about this bird. This is a dark morph gyrfalcon. I had really been wanting to see one and was super excited. But what we were seeing was this fight between two ravens and the gyrfalcon. The ravens didn't want the gyrfalcon around. They were kind of squabbling over territory on this electrical big tower and a satellite dish. And the gyr would land, and then the ravens would bomb it. And they constantly were harassing this gyrfalcon who would just sort of harumph and fly to another spot. And finally, after about 20 minutes, the gyrfalcon got completely fed up with the ravens. And this is a great photo my husband got after the gyrfalcon made a direct hit on the raven and knocked it through. It actually hit the wire there. You can see it hitting the wire. It flew away. It seemed to be okay. I hope it didn't break anything. But you can, the raven made crazy noises, which I'm quite sure now we know what raven is for cuss words, right? He was just going, ah, because he was lucky to live through that one. And the gyrfalcon then sort of won that argument. So that was really fun. I actually sketched from the photo because we were so engrossed watching it, I wasn't sketching live. So that was super fun. In fact, let's see. There's the sketch I did, but that was done from the photo. That wasn't done live. Now the fox, that was done live. And I'll show you, because we might sketch this because it was super fun. Oops, let's see. And you guys can come back and explore. There's some tundra swans, which were really beautiful to see. I have some video of them, but let's take a look at this interaction here. While we were sitting there, we were actually in the vehicle when we saw this. We got to see this red fox hunting. And here he is. This is really fun. He's found something here. Boing, boing. And he got it. We watched him stalking it and boinging and boinging. And now that he's got it, and we're trying to see what it is. I had my binoculars, but I was also videoing this, so it's kind of hard. And we spent quite a long time watching him, so I got to sketch a lot, but now he's playing with his food. Ended up being a tundra vole, V-O-L-E. And it was just marvelous watching him. Very cat-like, the way he played and played and played, throwing it up in the air. Poor little thing was probably still alive. And pounce, and finally he, now he's gonna chow it down. So he finally got to it. So now he's starting to eat it. So my husband's photos came out beautifully. Love the shot. So, you know, we can definitely do a sketch of this guy. Again, it's going to be a quick sketch, right? If you were doing this live, would have been super hard because, of course, he's just flopping all over the place, as you saw. So you would just capture gestures of the little fox while he was doing his thing with the vole, and we were able to identify it because of this photo. But let me show you the other photo too. Beautiful shot of his pouncing behavior, which is another great thing to sketch, and probably a little easier to sketch. So I might, you know, we might sketch that little bit less involved. Again, time-wise, when you're out in the field and you're doing a lot of stuff like this, you have to kind of pick and choose what you're going to sketch based on how much time you have. So today, since it's, you know, we don't have a ton of time, let's just do a really quick capture of this. And he would be marvelous to do the watercolor with, because that's going to be the best way to capture that gorgeous gorgeous colors. So let me get this going here and let's do a fox. Let's see. Come on.
I have a quick question if I could while you're doing that.
Of course.
Is
Could you show the other one while she's asking your question? Could you show the other one with the thing in the air? It's so amazing.
I can only show one at a time. So if you call up, if in the link, you can call it up yourself on a web browser and click on it and open it. Is that what you meant?
Yes, forgive me. Forgive me. That's perfect. My husband walked in. I had to show him, but
yeah. Sorry about that. It's hard for me to toggle back and forth. But it'll be there for you to share for sure. It's totally fun. I would sketch the one with the vole, but it's really complicated. It would take a long time. This one, I think I can do more quickly. We can try both because it's super fun, isn't it? And that's what's great about having.
It's amazing. What you've done is amazing, Roseanne.
It's fun. So what I would do if to sketch this is just get his basic shapes and let's I'm going to go ahead and do it with my purple first. Just it relieves some of the stress of, especially when I'm talking and drawing and sitting at a weird angle. And if you're nervous about committing to the paper, doing it this way first is great. So I'll probably do his tail first so I can use that as sort of a size marker. So it's this fluff thing. I'm not going to make him too huge because I have lots to sketch. So I'm just doing his tail, and then I'll get that. So I'm measuring here. His tail is one. His head and body are, and I can do this while I'm looking at him live. Oops, I'm going to turn my video back on so you can see me. I would actually try measuring, like, oh yeah, his tail is 2 lengths. His body is 2 tails long, basically, to his ear. So that way I can get the proportions right. So I want to get his fuzzy pants, I call it, and his butt. There, just get that. And that shoulder. And his eye area. See how I'm doing a lot of, let me change this exposure so you can, there you go. You can see that a little better, sorry. See how I'm just doing these shapes for now, just until I like the relationships I'm getting, and his muzzle. And as you go, you sort of, keep committing a little bit harder, a little bit harder. Here's his shoulder, which is really important. Don't quite have that proportion right. Checking proportion. It's fuzzy. And he's really extending his leg back here because he's pouncing. And we've got the I didn't quite get the lean there. I think he's actually expressing himself farther forward, but I'm okay with leaving that. Because I've got the gist of it, which is a lot of what field sketching is. And placing his eye is super important, even though it doesn't show really strongly. We want to make sure we've got that. Not quite. And his lips. So nose really comes out here. So that's just a marker for now. And then we can mark that his darker part here and the tail. And you want to reserve that white bit. And notice the pretty black markings. So now I can commit more with pen. And I'm not going to use strong lines on him because he's so fuzzy. I want to get that fuzz thing going. So I'm going to use a lot of broken line. And then we'll get more of the detail with some lovely watercolor. And you've got a lovely little, you can see his little fox pads, really cool there. And that shoulder, again, broken lines. Broken lines. He's so cute. He was really fun to watch. And that kind of foxy lippers, right? The dog lips are so cute. And his really, really cute black nose. Barely do that eye there. That lovely dark ear. Let's be sure to reserve that. And then again, I'm going to do broken line because I want to emphasize it's fuzz fuzz. Black. And that black in the tail here. Oops. And go up here. So that's a great start on Mr. Fox. And then I would want to, just going to do some gesture of the grasses here, which I can come in and fix with the watercolor and give it some. So there's some seed heads. Would I take that grass all the way up? Possibly. But again, you know, I feel like I didn't quite get that forward pounce, but that's okay. And then I could go in later and do some of these like seed heads and things. So I think the best thing to do now is to capture the rest of it with the watercolor so I don't overwork it too much. Like there. Little bit too much of a mask. That will disappear when I get the watercolor in though. So show some more of that fluff in the tail. The direction of the fur. Because that's going to be the white bit. Fun. I better stop or I'm going to like totally overcook him. So that's fun. And you might put red fox, hunting, tundra voles. And we were able to identify it based on its tail and the range and where we were expecting to see it. So that's fun. And as you can see, the whole page is starting to look fun. Whoops. more away. I don't know if I can get far enough away. Okay. Not quite. But yeah, so I think what I'm going to plan here is one of my favorites, which is a plant or something. I love doing plants. All right, let's get this back in here.
Is this tundra area where the snowy owls nest?
Yes, it is. And we were hoping to see owls, but one of the few things we didn't see. So let's go back to our here. It would be so easy to just spend the whole time here because there's just so much to see. I'll show you real quick the lovely tundra swans. You can see how beautiful they are. And what we saw was a group, family group. I'll show you quickly. It was 2 adults, probably male and a female, and then 4 of their young. So we got to watch them for a while. And one of the amazing things, look at the feet on the adults, huge black feet. And when they walk, they're like really ponderous. They lift them up and flop them down. I really noticed that. I was kind of fixated on it. There you can see them slightly more there. They have to pick them way up out of the water, which is full of grass and lichens and stuff and sedges, actually, not lichens, sedges, and pull it up. So that was fun to sit and watch them. So you can come back and explore this quite a bit more. One of the beautiful things about the tundra is the dwarf trees. So these are willows, dwarf willows, and I'll show you further on dwarf birches. This is as big as they get. If they're up in the hills amongst the rocks in some of the North Slope, they can get bigger. But down here in the full-on tundra where it's so cold and the weather really limits things. And remember, this is more like a desert than anything else. It's less than 20 inches of precipitation a year. The moisture is locked in that permafrost, and then we get the melting in the summer, but the available moisture in the atmosphere is not very much. And then of course it's the cold that limits these. There were dandelions. There are native dandelions up here too, and lots of these grasses, graminoid grasses. So beautiful, beautiful landscape. And here's a beautiful little, very small. This is maybe 1.5 inches per leaf. And that's all this plant gets. It actually sends its blooms up first. This is coltsfoot. And the blooms come up first in the summer, and then the leaves come up later. And it had frozen here already, so these were turning red, and they'll of course die off there. And it looks like there was geese poop in here too, and lots of mosses, lots of sphagnum mosses. And when you walk on it, it's super spongy. So, maybe I would draw the coltsfoot here in this circle. But since I know we're going to the next stop, there's some other stuff I might want to draw first. So let's wait on that. So I'm going to take you now to the next stop, because we got a ways to go still. We haven't even hit the Dalton. So we flew back to Fairbanks and picked up our four-wheel drive. And then we started up the Hall Road. And I'm taking you here to milepost 98. That's how everything is referenced on the highways in Alaska. You say, I'm at milepost 98 or milepost 200 or whatever. Especially if you need help, you have to know what milepost you're at so people can find you. So this is milepost 98 on the Dalton. We are looking here, we are looking northeast. Let me show you. This is back to, this is back to where we were at the tundra. We just came from here, so to orient you. And where are we? So here we are, like right in the middle, dead middle of Alaska, pretty much. And if you want to add these to your Oh, I should have put the coordinates of where I saw the fox, and I can get that off, that the information is there, so I can put the coordinates for the little fox guy there. And we'll come back and hopefully I'll have time. I'll do some watercolor because that's fun. So that's where we are. And what are some of this beautiful, look at the fall colors here, all in miniature. So this is willow, birch and willow. The red is the birch and the willow. Now you see this willow is presenting higher because this is actually up an elevation a bit. What was the elevation? Let me quick grab that. Hang on, I'm going to go back to my what. Remember to go back to these. Where is this? Because it'll tell. Oh, this is 2,429 feet. So quite a bit higher elevation. We drove north from Fairbanks, so the willows definitely, are getting shrubby here. But that's still tundra out there. And then you can see out in the mountains and valleys here, we're going to start seeing taiga forest, the boreal forest out there. But look at how the landscape's just gorgeous here. This is up on a hill. It's called Finger Mountain. There's actually a really dramatic spire just out of sight here, but this is the interpretive site for Finger Mountain. Let's take a look at these plants. That dwarf birch, look at that color. Let's draw that in the circle, because I just couldn't get enough of these gorgeous, gorgeous colors. And that birch. Oh, and I'll show you. I have a great little field tool. I'll show you here. A mini plant press here that I got ages ago. You can make your own. It's just masonite and blotting paper and some newspaper to absorb the moisture. But I've had this for almost 40 years. You just put your little plants in there and then you can save them. These newspaper clippings are from 1986. So that's when I bought it. They're no longer made. It was just made by the director of the Southwest Research Station. So you have to make your own. They're not available anymore. So you can make it any size you want. So when I have little things like that, here, I put them in cellophane bags. And I do that also because just in case there's seeds or something, that's a birch leaf. Actually, no, that's that's the tundra birch, Betula nana. So that's probably a slightly different species in the photo there, but and a willow, dwarf willow. But I put them in these plastics, so in case there's a seed on there, they're sealed and the seed can't be transferred to another environment. You want to be careful of that. You don't want to transfer things. And these are, that's reindeer lichen, and then this really cool, probably a cladonia lichen as well. Really cool additions. And I like to draw them too. So let's draw that. And I'm going to put it in there because that's a great way to blow it up, because these are really tiny. So I'm just going to do a section of it. Here. Oh, this blew out a little bit.
How big are they? You said really tiny.
Yes, so those little leaves are less than an inch, and I'll go ahead and write that measurement in. I would say about ½ an inch maximum. And they're ever so slightly rough on the edges, not super serrated, but not super smooth. You can see they're kind of bumpy. And I think I'll focus on just these leaves, and then the rest are going to be sort of they're going to be in the background. I'll make them really faint. And that saves you time as well. You don't have to draw everything that you see, right? So, you know, we'll just make suggestions of what's in the background. I would have to like really get on my hands and knees to see how exactly this little stalk is. And then there's going to be, you know, like, we just want to put suggestion in the background of what else is back there. But I'm going to focus on that. And that's what I'll color in on that. And we'll probably have to come back to that. We're going to go on our exploration, and then we'll come back and do color, which is really fun. That's beautiful. Oh, and we want to write in what this is. So this is Betula. I have to look. Still all pretty new to me. Nana. N-A-N-A. It's a species, genus and species name, so I always underline those. And then we'll write the common name, dwarf birch. There. That's a fun way to do that. And the location. So this is still wet, so I'm gonna have to, so this was at Finger Mountain. And I can just go ahead and write milepost MP 98 Dalton.
Roseanne, how would you indicate the scale of that plant?
Oh, good point. You can just go ahead and draw the scale like you did here down with the whale, or we can, if you don't want to do it in the drawing, I think we could do it in the drawing here. We could just add just a little scale marker here. Just say, I started with inches, so I'll stay in there, but you might use centimeters or millimeters, but we're going to go 0.5 inches. So that gives us a little marker in there on that. Thank you for reminding me. That's always helpful, because without that, right? And some people do fun things like they'll draw their own thumb in, you know, to show the scale. That's always fun. So this is giving us a nice kind of reach. One thing I forgot, I noticed down here is we would want to put the location, of course, but I have written that location is here, but I want to indicate that this is on the, you know, on the beach at Uqtiagvik. So we don't want to forget that, or the location for the fox. So, but let's go back and just keep exploring, because you get to see farther north, which is cool. So let's see. get that off there. Now we're going to head for the next stop. Let's see, that's stop 4. We're at stop 3. Okay, so now we're going to keep driving north on the Haul Road, and we're going to the Koyukuk River, which is a massive river system. There's the lower, upper, and middle Koyukuk, and they come together and eventually join the Yukon. It's a huge river. I'm pretty sure they join the Yukon. I'll have to double check that. But this is the Koyukuk River. I'm standing right on the edge of the river here, got my feet wet, sat on this. In fact, you can see right, where'd it go? Here's my notebook and field bag right here. That's where I sat. And then I walked down to the river's edge here, and the beautiful fall colors. Whoa, I probably just made you guys seasick. So where are we? I'm going to show you. Just, not quite in the middle anymore. We're heading north, and we're just on the southern side of the Brooks Range, famous Brooks Range, which you can start seeing way out here. In fact, here's where our next stop is, going due north. So this is looking mostly west. And let's take a look at what this boreal forest, those are black spruces, some white spruce, poplars in there. Let's take a look at what that looks like. This is walking through the boreal forest. Now watch my feet, how it sinks about 6 to 8 inches with each step. That's huge lichen and moss, and those are miniature berries. It's just thick, and the spruces grow really close together. They're really scraggly. And while we were, and look at these growths, that's a bunch of their cones. That's how they form these cones in these bunches. And walking through here, we discovered this system of pathways. And then my husband discovered these. So these are rodent paths. See that? And it's going to show you in just a second. See, there's a rodent path here. A little highway system through the mosses. And it's buffering. We're going to let it buffer. Oh, please. Come on. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. All right, we're going to be patient here. So what we discovered was actually the beginnings of a really massive cache, C-A-C-H-E, a cache of one of the red squirrels. Let me double check the species. Pretty sure it was red squirrel, but I have to double check while that's buffering. Oh man. Yes, the red squirrel. And it's not going to load. Let me see if I can reload it. All right, come on, internet, come back. All right, it's gonna show again. It was really hard to walk in there. And also I realized you can't hear anything else. So like a bear could be walking right behind me and I'd never hear it. So that's a group of cones all clustered together. Oh, there it's running a little better now. So you'll probably get to see it. We're looking at the little pathways again. I just thought this was so interesting. I wanted to share it. Come on. So the red squirrels pile up the cones. They eat these cones, which are really interesting. They're not very big. The cones, here we go. That there is a cache, and it's hugely deep. That's probably 3 feet tall and 4 or 5 feet wide. And he's still and she are still adding to it. This gives you some sense of the scale. So they go and they gather the cones. And then of course, when this is all covered in snow, which it is now, it's all nice and cozy. And this is their food source for the winter. And they have little holes that burrow down into it. So I'm assuming they eat from the bottom up as the winter goes. So there's the little hole. And you get a sense of the scale there. Quite an interesting way to survive the winter, isn't it? If we zoom in a little bit more, you can see what the cones look like. They're only about an inch long. There, you can see how tall it is. Great. Okay. So what else is here? One of the most beautiful sights in the fall are the berries. I just thought these color combinations were amazing. And so, you know, I might want to draw that. The other fun thing is of course, you can eat the berries, which we did tons of, but you can use the blueberry juice. Actually creates a lovely color in your journal. I'll show you here in just a moment. That's really fun. So that's a beautiful thing for the fall. And there were lots of different berries. All right, can you pick out the not berries? What are not berries in this photo? Those are moose droppings, and then cranberries, and the bright orange are timber berries, they're called. They're really bitter, really strange color. And then of course, blueberries. And here we saw, let's see, there we go, beautiful. Remember we talked about bald eagle? That would be another fun thing to add sketching wise as well. But, and I did sketch him, he is beautiful. And I'll show you, here was, I did a landscape-ito of that beautiful vista with all those colors. I really wanted to capture that. And it took me about, I want to say it was about 45 minutes. And I was able to get mostly done. Oops, wrong one. Sorry about that. Here's what it ended up. When I was done with it, it had, I didn't feel like it was showing the scale well enough. So I decided to put like a little foreground detail of the dark, really dark rocks. There were lots of micaceous rocks around me. So I like that better. It kind of gave me the scale. And I was really pleased with also the clouds on this one. That's hard to capture, but was able to show them over the top, like covering the top of the mountain, which they did most of the day. Up here was just lifting when I took the photo. So given the time, I might come back and do a little color shortly because we have one more stop. And also feel free to get the link. The link is in the chat. If you want to come back and be working on this while I'm talking, whatever you want to do. But let's pop to the final stop, because we've gone over Attican Pass, over the Brooks Range. It's really dramatic, and I'll show you some cool things there. Zoom, okay, let's go. Okay, we've just climbed over this pass here, and this is what it was like on the way back. It snowed, and it got a little dicey coming back down because our stupid rental truck had bad tires. I mean, just dumb tires, not bad tires, but they weren't grippy enough. So we were doing a little interesting, losing traction. So, but that's a high pass for the area. It's, I think, 4,000 something feet. What did I put? Yeah, 4,738 feet. And where are we? So this is the Brooks Range. We've just come over. This is the pass, and we ended up camping out here. So where this beautiful stream is right outside the mountains. And as we went over that pass, right at the top, we saw this. This is like a 45-degree slope, really tall mountain. And these Dall's sheep, D-A-L-L, were traipsing across, just like, I mean, it's like Velcro. They were stuck there. I can't even imagine myself not falling completely. I can't even see how they did it. Here's that close up. And these are juveniles. Their parents were off to the side on a ledge. You could see them lying down and chewing their cud. These guys wanted to go over here to this juicy grass-looking area, so that they traversed that. Very cool to see the Dall sheep. And some of the other features here. Oh, that's the here in this valley was our location, this beautiful moose. They're called mooseberry. They're not cranberries. They're in a different family. But they, after a freeze, they get really sweet and they do taste really good. You can explore these some more. I didn't do a 360-degree photo up at Prudhoe Bay, but let's look at where Prudhoe is. So all the way up here, we did drive there, and this is what it looked like. You know, it's an industrial oil town. You know, it's for oil, and there's a lot of restrictions. You can't drive to the ocean. If you want to go, they offer tours. We didn't do it because we had been up there before, been up to the Arctic coast before, and didn't feel the need to do a tour. So that's as far as we drove, and you could see the ocean is farther up. But that was the end of the road there. So you can see things like ice features out on these. From here on to Prudhoe is really flat, with a few features like these pingos. This is an ice mountain, so the core is ice. It's called a pingo. And then while we were on that road going north, lovely vistas like this herd of caribou, lots of caribou. They were beautiful, and I really enjoyed studying and watching these beautiful animals. Oh, come on, load. As I tell you how beautiful it is, and then the photo's not loading. Okay, let's try peregrine. There we go. So lots of peregrines. We saw, I think, at least 3 on one short section of the drive. There were 2 here, probably a pair. Beautiful. They were probably out hunting ducks. There were lots, or geese, lots of geese out, ducks and geese. Let's see if that caribou will load. There we go. Beautiful sably coat. They've got their antlers right now. We're getting their velvet. Hard to tell if that's a female. I think it is. But beautiful animals. I love the way they walk and hold their heads. But the coolest thing I think we saw was the muskox, as I showed you before. This is an animal straight out of the Pleistocene. Amazing creature. They just look prehistoric. And he appeared over a hill. We only saw him for like 3 minutes. Barely got in some photos. I did a really quick gesture sketch. And they're really big, the size of an ox and a domestic ox. And they're covered with this shaggy fur, and they just move ponderously. Just, it is, like I said, like a dinosaur, like prehistoric, amazing. And everything about it, I would sketch a shape and like, no, that seems wrong. And I looked and no, that's right. The way his head is, his eye is just sort of stuck under his big boss of a horns. that was super fun to see. And super fun to sketch. And yeah, so showed you this earlier, did quick gesture sketches of the peregrine, just 2 minutes. And of course he flew away. But I'm getting much more confident and better, especially with that, using that pencil really helps. And then later you can go back and do a more detailed sketch. Hopefully, maybe you got photos too. But sometimes if you're alone, you have to make that decision. Do I sketch or do I take a photo? So maybe you do a quick photo and then try to do a gesture sketch. I was lucky because my husband was taking the photos. But I took notes how barred his chest was. And then later in camp, I did the detailed drawings because we were moving pretty quickly. So very, very fun on that. So let's see, what else do we have? Let me just show you real quick. Fun. You can get a feel for what this beautiful landscape is like. Gorgeous creek. So many creeks and rivers here. This one is flowing to a river, which I cannot pronounce the name of this river, but it goes to the Arctic Ocean, right parallels the Prudhoe Hall Road. And of course it's windy, always windy. It was cold. But you can come back and explore those. Let's see if there's any questions. Go ahead and ask questions verbally. And I know we might, you might step on each other, but that helps me verbally if you just ask questions, because I see there's a lot of chat, but I can't quite get to it. Any questions?
Did you run into any other people while you were traveling?
Oh, good question. Because it was the shoulder season, we call it, I'd say, so in a lot of, we ended up having to stay in the Bureau of Land Management campgrounds because it was the beginning of a hunting season. So there were, all the free camps were taken up with all the guys and women who know the camps. So we couldn't get any free camps. And there were usually only about 1 or 2 other vehicles in the camps. So we didn't meet very many people, no. So a lot of traffic on the road, but trucks. And as far as other people like us, we probably saw a handful, maybe 10 other individual cars.
Perfect nature holiday.
It was just completely immersive. So let's, we're kind of ramping down. I'm going to take the last few minutes. I know I said like an hour and a half, but if you have time to stick with me, I'll do some color. Let's go back to Mr. Fox. So when you navigate this virtual field trip, you can click on the photos here, or you can click on the markers in the Google map embedded there. So I'll do the fox because he's so cute. And I hope someone tackles drawing the fox with the vole. That's going to take a lot longer than I have time for here. Otherwise I would have tackled it, but it would have taken pretty much the whole time because of the, he's a certain perspective. It wasn't what I would call super easy to sketch that. Where I felt like, this little leaping guy was just a little bit easier to do a quick shape sketch. Okay, where are you gonna, oh no, sorry, come back. There we go.
There's a toolbar in the lower portion of the
thank
screen.
you. I just have to click on it. Stop. There we go. Thank you. I always forget those are pop up and they're annoying as heck. Now, here's my little paint kit. Those of you who don't know, I teach and love to use just a very minimalist approach. It's called a triad, meaning the 3 basic colors, the primaries, the true primaries are cyan, magenta, and yellow. And for cyan, I use, I just had a complete mental blank. Manganese blue hue from Daniel Smith. and then quinacridone rose and aureolin yellow. And then I throw in my extra colors are indanthrone blue and burnt sienna. And this is just a gnarly extra yellow for mixing. See how gross it gets. Love that because that's all I need to carry. And a little travel brush. And getting my spritzer here. I just, if you don't know, if you're new to this stuff, you want to refresh your paints with a little spray. Helps get them going. And then I can just sit with my little paint kit in the field and do, I got any color I need. But let's mix this really pretty. In fact, I can go almost straight burnt sienna for the little fox, for his darker bits. But I want a little bit peachier color for the underpainting his other parts. So I don't want it, yeah, see that's got really pretty. Just gonna try that really faint. I'm doing this mostly as a first wash, if you will. And what I want to be careful is I want to reserve that white. Oh, his tummy. And it's funny how this is looking much more yellow than it actually is. It's not that yellow on the paper. I think it's this camera. I normally use my iPhone for my camera, but it was misbehaving today. So, because the iPhone has a much truer color camera. This document camera, it's not necessarily true to color. It's really meant, there we go. That's a little better. Let's get his fuzzy pants. And then I'll be, I can work later on refining the details. There. Here, it's definitely not that yellow. And then while it's still damp, I can go, or I can make it a little damper. I can go in with the burnt sienna and add more of the foxy colors. And this will dry lighter than it's showing. Notice how I'm just dropping it in. Get his little butt there. It's going to dry a lot lighter. And I can also pick up some of it as I go. I might even, go in, I could pick up some of it with my finger if I want to. That helps. Definitely want to keep that pretty belly. I don't want to overwork it. So I'm going to leave that for a minute. We can work on the dark pause there. Yeah, I think I'll let him sit for a minute. Let's get that birch going. Oh, I know, real quick. I'm going to sort of mix this all around and get some of that grass color, right? So and there's some green in there too, interestingly, because it still hasn't frozen and gone totally. See how I'm just dipping, creating kind of a mossy green. It's not bright green. Remember, this isn't spring green. Just want to capture the feeling of this. And I can go in and add some of that brown. Without, I don't want to dominate too much here. I'm going to let that sit and then we'll come back to it. It'll be more interesting when it dries. And then that lovely red, and then we'll call it probably. Red's always fun to mix, and that is quite a red, isn't it? Let's see. I want to find that red. That was at our finger mountain. There it is. Yeah, let's try to mix that red. Oops, need to get this a little cleaner. Cleaning out the palette. Okay, so I'm gonna go really magenta here. Oop, too much water. So I'd be tempted to paint a magenta underwash on this. Let's see how that works. So it's going to be really pink at first, and everything's going to be the same color, and I'll be adding the shadows to pull them back out. See if that works. And the reason is that'll give me that, hopefully that'll give me that much vibrant color. See how I'm just trying to leave the edges raggedy. So I'll come back in with dark colors. Oof. See, I'm trying to keep that raggedy. I'm kind of dotting it, hoping I just don't mess up and completely go out of the lines. Okay. It's kind of a weird way to do it, but I think it's going to work. Now you can do this a couple of ways to bring the red in. After it dries, I can see what just adding pure yellow. Well, that's not dry enough, is it? To pop that red. And that you get more of that bright red color by doing it that way. I should have let that dry more. I'm kind of moving fast because we're coming up on the end, but I'm gonna leave that go. But just to show you, will I do the background? No, I'm just going to color this because that's what I want highlighted. The rest of it, I might go in with my pen and add more pen detail since I'm adding color. And then the other thing I'll want to do is the dark bits, which I'm probably just going to go directly in with this dark blue. And I'll even maybe mix it there to almost a dark purple. And the bits that I want to push back, you know, as shadow, I'm going to add that way. And let's see, so we've got that covering that. I'm gonna, even though it's not there, I'm gonna kind of add a shadow here so that pops.
Roseanne, what size brush is that?
I don't know what so this is an Prudhoe Bay travel brush. And I think it's an 0, but you know, a 0, but it only comes in one size. So it's got a lovely, very pointed tip. It's super useful. It can go, you can use very flat or very pointed. I love it. It's squirrel hair. So you can see this is drying into a brighter red by having just put a yellow wash on it, because magenta and yellow is red. So if I do that here, oops, not quite enough water. And it's a much more like multi, I don't know, you just get a lot more interesting colors by doing it that way. Whoops, that yellow shows a bit much, but so I can go in once that dries and add some more detail, but I'm liking the brightness, and then by adding some shadows will enhance the brightness even more. So, but for now, I have to wait because we need to let it dry. So I think we'll kind of at the end here, I'm going to stop share and see where we're at. Let's go ahead and let's see, view gallery. If you want to turn your cameras back on so we can see everybody, that's always fun to ask questions. Questions, anyone? Did y'all get everyone get oh, thanks Julie for putting the link back in. Cool, thank you. I will, yeah. So to the person who, someone sent me a private message while I was instructing or presenting, and I wasn't able to get that, so I apologize. Any questions?
What was your favorite place? I know that's really hard, but, or maybe I should rephrase that and say, what place had the most impact?
Very good question. I think I'm thinking, I would say Uqtiagvik, because of, we met a lot of really great people as well. And we're not usually people, but we had a lot of great interactions there. We learned a lot about climate change and the impact it's going to have on Indigenous communities. They're going to feel it at a much more deep, very bad way than we will, because they have nowhere to go. So, you know, it really hit home, but it's also an incredible landscape that's right on the edge. You know, imagine being there all winter, living there the whole time when there's no sun, and it's 40 below, 50 below. Actually, right in the middle of Alaska is the coldest spot ever recorded. You know, of course, it could have been colder elsewhere, but -80 is one of the places we were at. So that was incredible. If you want, I can flip through, if you haven't seen them. I could go back to the camera and show all the pages from the journey in chronological order. would that be something people would want to see?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Great. Let me do that. And I'll kind of narrate kind of what I did and why. Let's see. This should be showing just the camera now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So all of these pages were done. Oops, let me get this so it shows. All of these pages were done there, and I can tell you which parts I did later and which were live, but almost everything was live. And this is a fun page I like to explain. This was so weeks. Oops, let me get rid of that thing. Weeks and weeks went by. I hadn't done anything in my journals. I was really busy getting ready for this trip. And this was the very first thing I sketched live in the museum, blank pages, except for my metadata. And I had written some of this, but I decided to draw this giant stuffed grizzly brown bear that was in the Natural History Museum. And of course, it just bombed. I got his proportions wrong. His face is stupid. He looks like a lion. And the more I messed with it, the worse it got. And people are looking over my shoulder. It's always difficult to sketch in public. And but I just persevered. I said, oh, well, the heck with it. And then I tackled the walrus next. And I kind of took a deep breath and ignored everybody around me and really got my juju. So I loved the walrus and this really cool bison, which was discovered covered in Vivianite phosphorus. So the phosphorus and the iron in the soil combined to make this blue-green covering mineralization. I mean, it was literally this ancient steppe bison mummified. It was so cool. And so another thing I did then later at the, so this was our first day in Fairbanks at the hotel, I did the map just to sort of get myself grounded. And I love maps. So that I just did, of course, at the hotel. And then in preparation, this is always a fun thing to do when you're heading somewhere new. Then also that evening, just to give myself some information about tundra habitats, so I'd be preloaded. I copied these from websites. Really useful thing to do. It gets your sketching going. It gets your brain locked on species you're going to see. In this case, also the Inupiat words for some of the things that we were going to see. And then I always do this on all my journals. So when I start at a new place here, Fairbanks, I just draw this line or a box, and then I start a running list of just species and that I see or hear. And if I'm not sure what it was, like I put a question mark, was that Jerv Falcon? And yeah, it was. So I was able to put yay. So that was fun. We did see an Arctic fox in his ratty summer clothing. And then the next day we went to Uqtiagvik, and I enjoyed doing the little landscape bitos. So I sat on the beach and I just drew the ocean, which was so cool to be there and looking at, the top of Russia, basically. And I drew that whalebone arch and notes and things. I love drawing rocks, so I drew the rocks. All that was done on site, sitting in the cold. And then this guy, I did not sketch live. We saw a ton of them, but not in a place that I was able to sketch live. They were in people's yards and in town, and I wasn't comfortable standing and staring at someone's house and sketching. I felt like that was invasive. And we ended up calling they're white-fronted geese, but really it's their butts we saw the most of, so we called them white-assed geese. A map, again, I did that later in the evening, but I did this guy live. That was the swans from that video. Super happy with the proportions and everything here. I added the color later though. Did not do the color live. I already told you this was I did this from the photo because it just all happened so fast. There's no way I could sketch that. And then this I did live, and the color later in the evenings, because I had a lot to write about. And initially we thought it was a brown lemming, but it's not. It was a tundra vole. So I actually need to go correct that. And those of you who are new to journaling, nature journaling, and the data, remember this is all data. It's really important. I'm not going to like obliterate this. I'm going to draw a line and write tundra vole over it. And the reason I draw a line is because I want to be able to see what that mistake was, just in case I have to go back and redact it. Maybe I was just right the first time. So it's important that you don't obliterate things. This is data, and you need to be able to see even the mistakes. This I copied off of an interpretive sign. Just standing there at the sign. And I did the color in camp later. This was at the Arctic Circle. There was a camp right there. And then that's the fireweed. Again, I pressed it and it's sealed so the seeds can't spread anywhere. And then I drew it. And I had a conversation with a red squirrel. So I actually drew him live. And made notes. And I talked to him. I squeaked and he squeaked and I squeaked and he squeaked. It was really funny. And then I drew the berries and actually put the juice. That's blueberry juice. That's cranberry juice. This didn't really have a juice. So it was interesting to see what that actually looked like. And again, this running species list continued from page 105. It just keeps going. You can wrap them around. So it's a great thing to do, to keep those running, and write your page numbers so you can always reference. You saw this. This was done on site, which was really a blessing. Loved it. I cut open the spruce, black spruce. And so you can see, I remember I said how small they were. Look at how tiny. This is ×1, meaning that's life size. I wrote a quote that I saw on a sign from Margaret Murray. Read this book if you ever get a chance to, in the far north. The Murrays were amazing. These guys, I did these live. I did not do this live. I did these two. Did that from just kind of memory because I wanted to show the incredible slope. These I wasn't like super happy with, but hey, at least I made an effort. And I did do him live, super happy with him. The loon was not live. I grabbed that from a photo. And this I did sitting there at the Brooks Range. Super happy with that. Snow geese. I just did gestures of kind of caribou-y real quick. They were hard to sketch. They were always farther away, always running away. But I wanted to show like how the antler sat on the forehead is this really weird, the way they kind of sit. So I did that. We saw these, so fun, really, really, really love that. And remember, you want to write where you see things and all the information, because this is important. This is something that I'll refer to far into the future.
Was this all using the same mini palette?
Yes, always. That's all I use. I don't have anything else. So you can do tons of colors from that. In fact, I'm doing a class next weekend through the Desert Laboratory on Tumamoc Hill, and it's online. If you wanted to join, it is a paid class, but it's in doing minimalist watercolor. It's called Fearless Watercolor. So email me if you want information on that. Here is something super fun. Oh, I do need to say, collecting feathers is not legal, so you're not seeing this. Sorry, I do it. You're not supposed to do it. They're protected by the Migratory Bird Act. This is a seagull feather. Oops. But but this is a pictorial map of the whole journey. So let's see if we can get this. So there it starts, Fairbanks, follows up. And this you just do for fun. They're just super fun. And then I just did like little pictorial. That's what Finger Mountain looks like. There's a moose we saw. Those are blueberries. There. And then, it continues over. And let's see. There we go up. There's the sheep at Adigan Pass. Here's the caribou. There's the muskox. That's roughly where we saw them. Peregrine and Prudhoe. So super fun. That's just glued in. Love doing those. And then that. So, and then you can see, when I'm home or elsewhere, I don't always draw. Words are special too. So, it's not always about pictures. I love to draw. So I learned so much doing it. Interpretive signs are the best so anytime you can grab photos and copy interpretive signs, that came off an interpretive sign. So we did see the Northern Lights once. Not super bright, but it was fun. So
the plastic bags you use, are they just special bags or do you just, whatever?
Anything that I can get my hands on, I just save them. These little, what do these come from? These little flat bags. There's something that I buy that those come in and I'm just not remembering.
Okay. No, they're not something that you go out and buy 100 of.
No, I just save them from trash normally and, just stick them in there and glue them shut.
Reuse, recycle, renew.
Yeah.
I do that too, Roseanne. When you buy cards that come in a protective cover, those are really great. That protective cover.
Perfect. I just stick them in so I keep an envelope in the front of my journal and I stick them in there. So I always have stuff.
Great idea. Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, you can make your own envelope by gluing 2 pages together, glue one into your journal. Yeah, so, well.
I have one other question if you have another second.
Sure.
Could you show the helix protractor? I think I might.
Sure.
Something I didn't catch it.
You bet. And while we're doing this, I'm just going to throw this out there. I do these free presentations and field trips. I do appreciate if you can head over to my website. I do have a tip jar and appreciate that. I'll be sending out links to the recordings and I'll make a little page on my website, tutorials. You can get all of this stuff. You access the field trip. I'll finish the page and put that up there. This is the helix protractor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
It's super cool. And like I said, you can use it to measure things visually in the landscape if you want to know, what an angle of something is, or to draw a perfect angle as well. So thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate it. It was really fun to share. Go to Alaska. It's so accessible. It's very cheap to get there by plane, Alaska Air. I think our tickets were like $400 round trip. Renting a vehicle is super expensive. So actually driving is probably the least expensive way to get there if you have lots of time, because it's a long way away. So, and it's huge, beautiful. Yeah, Joelle, you've been to Alaska. It's amazing. And go. We're gonna be spending much more time there. So, and Julie, thank you so much for your help. Really appreciate it. I hope everybody had fun and have a great rest of the weekend. I'll be sending out an email link to everything later this week.
Roseanne.
All right, I'm going to switch to gallery view so we can say bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Bye. Have a good weekend.